In a new report you definitely will not hear in the mainstream media, Hamas has reversed some of their death count numbers. Instead of claiming that 70% of the casualties during this war have been women and children, this new report sheds light on the fact that these numbers are now flipped, with Hamas themselves claiming that 72% of the deaths are now men between the ages of 13 and 55. In other words, terrorist fighting age. We'll also take a look at two propaganda videos that are making their rounds in the Western world and why both of them are a far cry from the truth. We'll get into all of this on today's episode. I'm Luke Hilton, and this is the Israel Guys. Welcome back to the Israel Guys. Unfortunately, there will not be a podcast with the Land of Israel Network, Jeremy Gimpel, Ari Abramowitz, Joshua Waller this week. There's good reasons for it, but very unfortunate for all of you guys. With God's help, everyone will be back together next week, so you can look forward to that. You know, Hamas has been talking about how 70% of the casualties in the war with Hamas in Gaza are women and children. Well, they are evidently thinking that their credibility is not so good on the global stage. Surprise, surprise. So they quietly have changed some of the numbers in their reports from last year. And thankfully, NGOs and some media outlets, not a whole lot, some media outlets are starting to take notice. So Salo Eisenberg, who works for Honest Reporting, who is a watchdog NGO here in Israel, told The Telegraph, and this is a report from the Jerusalem Post and The Telegraph, that Hamas has quietly removed thousands of names of Palestinians who it previously alleged were killed during the war. So Silo Eisenberg from Honest Reporting, as well as Andrew Fox from the Henry Jackson Society, took a look at the March report of casualties from Hamas, also known as the Gaza Health Ministry, right? One and the same, and figured out that the numbers and statistics have drastically changed. Not that Hamas bothered to tell anyone, but thankfully people are now paying attention. So before, Hamas was claiming 70% of the casualties were women and children. They're claiming that 50,000 people have been killed in the last 16 months of the war. In fact, we've obviously all known that was not true unless you're somebody like Candace Owens and you just believe everything that Hamas spits out. People with common sense have known that those numbers were not true because they came straight from the Gaza Health Ministry, which is straight from the mouth of Hamas, which has they definitely have something to hide, and we all know that, right? There's there's plenty of videos of dead women and children miraculously coming back to life. You've all seen them on social media. Plenty of evidence of Hollywood, including like film sets, fake blood, fake violence, death, lights, camera, action, that type of thing. But now, according to this report, Hamas themselves are changing the numbers. Speculation as to why. Maybe Hamas thinks that they've gone a little bit too far and their credibility is just a little bit too bad, so they're starting to reverse course, maybe hoping no one will notice. The new report shows that over 3,000 fatalities, 3,400 fully identified deaths listed in August and October 2024, including 1,080 children, have just been removed, just quietly dropped off the list, right? In the new report, using that data, shows that 72% of the casualties or fatalities are males between the ages of 13 and 55. Now, while you may think that the age of 13 is tragic, and it absolutely is, there are plenty of 13-year-old terrorists who have been actively fighting Israel with Hamas and committing terrorist attacks. And so this basically lines up with the category of Hamas terrorists. If you're a male between the ages of 13 and 55, there's plenty of evidence to show that you could, and many have been, part of the Hamas terrorist attacks. According to Eisenberg, quote, Hamas's new March 2025 fatality list quietly drops 34 fully identified deaths listed in its August and October 2024 reports, including 1,080 children. These deaths just simply never happened. Now, if they dropped that many names from 2 months out of this war, how many names have they not dropped from the list? How many of those 50,000 deaths, so many of them claiming to be women and children, are absolutely not true? I don't know if you guys remember. I probably can't dig that far back and pull it up, but I called this. I called this early on in the war. I said the numbers will come out. There will be evidence forthcoming. It will be revealed that any of the fatality numbers, any of the statistics and claims from the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry are not true. Many of them are not true and falsified, and it will eventually be revealed. Lo and behold, what are we? 16, 17 months into this war now, 17 months plus into the war, the numbers are starting to come out, the real statistics, right? So the Henry Jackson Society published a report by Andrew Fox, who has worked together with Salo Eisenberg about these statistics. He talks about how Hamas has published false data ever since the start of the war. They literally release PDF files every time they release lists of people who have died. We've always known they've overinflated the numbers. They have published names of people who died before the start of the war. They've added as many names of women and children as possible. They do not distinguish at all between civilian and combatant deaths. So 50,000 people are just 50,000 civilians in their eyes or in their reports, et cetera, et cetera. This is something that's happened over and over again. It's going to continue to happen. But as I said before, the numbers would eventually come out. They're coming out right now, and there will be more. We're talking numbers from 2 months of the report from 2024. The real numbers are going to continue to come out. The IDF has said that their estimates are that they have killed 20,000 Hamas terrorists in the war. The Gaza Health Ministry is claiming 50,000 casualties in total. Now their own reports are starting to reveal that there's a good chance over 70% of these casualties, whether it's 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, are males between the ages of 13 and 55, majority of them Hamas terrorists. So what are the real numbers? Way lower than what anybody realizes. Definitely not going to be published globally or widely in the mainstream media. The Israel Summit is not like any other pro-Israel conference or event. First of all, there's something you should know about our organization. Hayuvel is a volunteer organization that brings hundreds of Christians volunteers to serve the Jewish farmers living in Judea and Samaria each year. We are a very boots-on-the-ground organization with a strong mission to serve the land and people of Israel's heartland. There's just one big problem. The incredible people, the beautiful land, the prophetic work that's happening here, the stories, and so much more are all here in Israel. That's why we're coming to Dallas, Texas for the Israel Summit. It's simply our way of bringing the beauty of Israel's heartland to you. We want to introduce the world to this incredible land and the amazing people, and this is our way of doing just that. Instead of inviting lots of big-name politicians or leaders, although you will see some of them, we're bringing the heroes and the pioneers from Israel's biblical heartland to Dallas, Texas. You'll meet IDF soldiers who have founded communities in the hills where King David hid from Saul. You'll connect with a Jewish rabbi who's fighting for Israel on the front lines of Israel advocacy while building the ancient ruins of Hebron where Abraham lived and breathed. You'll hear the story of a Jewish farmer who bravely defied all odds and planted one of the first vineyards on the mountains of Samaria, and so much more. Guys, come to the Israel Summit, June 9th through 11th, Dallas, Texas, and meet the heroes and pioneers of Israel's biblical heartland. Click the link in the description below to get your tickets today. So I have to talk about a film that I just came across. It was sent out by a friend of ours whose son brought this home from his school in the United States. I want you to just watch the first 10 seconds of this film. Play this clip. Now, we will not play the entirety of this film. We'll play some B-roll on the screen. We'll link it down below if you want to watch the whole thing. This is an award-winning short film that was published on October 27th, 2023, exactly 20 days after the horrific massacres of October 7th. What I want you to notice is that in the first 5 seconds of this film, we see an Arab girl, presumably living in the United States, getting ready for her first day of school. And what does she put on? She puts on a necklace shaped in the map of the state of Israel with the word Palestine on it. Okay, the video goes on to show We'll show some of the film silently. The girl attending school. The teacher asks the children to introduce themselves. She introduces herself with an Arab name. The teacher wants the children to put pins on the globe, the map of the world, of the globe, showing where their family comes from. And the girl goes up to find Palestine, except all she sees is the state of Israel on the map. And we go on for her to explore her identity, and the teacher's trying to make concessions for her, and her father's teaching her that she really is from Palestine, and she'll go on to eventually their family will return to their home. Now, why is a film like this so dangerous? It's a cute cartoon animated film. It's a sweet little girl going to school, exploring her heritage and her identity. And evidently this video is being played in schools in America in honor of Arab Heritage Month, okay? Now, what is so dangerous about this? Number one, I already mentioned, the film was published exactly 20 days after the horrific massacres of October 7th, 2023, which in and of itself is so insensitive, it's hard to comprehend. Immediately, within 5 seconds, we see a necklace showing the entirety of the map of the state of Israel with the word Palestine on it, which means that they are promoting, schools in America are now actively promoting the idea that Israel will be erased off the map. By the way, this is also what all the schools, the municipalities, the governments, the media, etc., teach and promote in Gaza and in Judea and Samaria, aka what the world calls the West Bank. I've seen that for myself. I was in a Palestinian mayor's office in a local town here in Judea and Samaria. Hanging on his wall is a map of the state of Israel with the word Palestine on it. Not the West Bank, not the Gaza Strip, not the Sinai, not the Golan Heights, the entirety of the map of the state of Israel, their Arab names on Haifa, on Tel Aviv, on Jaffa, on Akko, Nahariya, on Ashdod, Ashkelon, because their entire goal is to erase Israel, wipe the Jews off the map into the sea, and create Palestine in the entirety of the land. What's even worse, this film is being promoted and taught in American schools right now. This film was shown in 13 film festivals. I looked in the description of the YouTube film, because it's on YouTube, over 1 million views, I think. And it had the lyrics for the music that was playing in the background. It's a Palestinian song. The lyrics read like this: "Take me to Palestine, O bird, please. Return me to my country, to my family and children. My country, the mother of struggle, the one that gave birth to heroes, aka martyrs. Take me to the occupied land, to the plain and the hill." And the land calls out and says, "Take me to Palestine. Take me." Again, guys, if you're American, your children might be being shown this and taught this or something similar in their school right now. Take me to the occupied land, the one that gave birth to heroes, glorifying martyrs who murdered Jews in the land of Israel. I would check with your children, check with your school, make sure they're not being brainwashed and shown propaganda like this right now. Guys, speaking of films, there's one other video or film that we need to mention. You've probably heard about a documentary, Palestinian propaganda documentary called No Other Land, won an Oscar recently. An Oscar award in the Oscars. There's a new report from Honest Reporting, and I won't get into the whole film. There's a whole propaganda behind the actual film. That's a whole separate story. But there was a report. I'm going to read you some direct quotes again from Honest Reporting, who's an NGO, that watchdog that calls out the lies and the misinformation in the mainstream media. Beaten bloody, attacked by a group of about 15 armed settlers, assaulted with brass knuckles and the butt of a rifle to his head, and later struck by Israeli soldiers who supposedly beat him with the butt of their rifles. These were just a few of the claims, or variations of them, breathlessly relayed by the New York Times, Sky News, CNN, The Guardian, and the BBC, based entirely on accounts from so-called activists on the scene. And at the center of the chaos, again, this is from Honest Reporting, was none other than Hamdan Balal, one of the Palestinian activist filmmakers behind the Oscar-winning documentary No Other Land. According to the media, he was a helpless victim of a brutal settler assault near his home in the West Bank village of Susia on Monday night. By the way, Susia is a Jewish village in the south of Judea, close to Hebron. So anyways, I won't dwell on this a lot, but we'll show some B-roll of when Balal was released from detention in an Israeli detention facility. Evidently, there were Palestinians got in a confrontation with Israeli settlers. Palestinians were throwing rocks at Israeli civilians, not the IDF, at Israeli civilians. The IDF came in, intervened. 3 Palestinian Arabs were arrested. One of them was Hamdan Balal, who is the director of this No Other Land Oscar award-winning propaganda documentary, and released the next day. All these headlines screamed. New York Times, CNN, BBC, Sky News, they screamed, attacked by a group of 15 armed settlers, assaulted with brass knuckles, the butt of a rifle to his head, beat with the butt of their rifles. That's what the headlines all around the world screamed about this famous, Palestinian director of this documentary. And as you can see in this Associated Press report, when he was released from detention the next day, he does not have a scratch on him, except for an exaggerated limp. That's the only appearance of being hurt. If he was beaten with brass knuckles with the butt of a rifle, bloody and brute, there's no blood on him. Doesn't hardly appear to be. The bottom line is this is just another exaggerated Palestinian Pallywood story. The reason it went so around the world and made global headlines is because he's this famous director, right, that just won an award at the Oscars. Another Palestinian Pallywood story. Again, they want you to believe Palestinians are poor, innocent victims at the mercy of violent extremist settlers. Except now, guys, the world's waking up and you know the truth and you need to spread the real story. So, guys, don't let your children be brainwashed by Palestinian propaganda that really glorifies martyrs as heroes from Israel who murder Jews, terrorists who murder Jews, who wants to erase the map of erase Israel off the map entirely, and wants your children to believe that that's what's normal in honor of Arab Heritage Month, right? Guys, in conclusion, don't believe the lies and propaganda that you're seeing in the media all over the place. Guys, make sure to subscribe. If you're listening or watching, subscribe and follow along. Let me know what you think about today's topics in the comment section below. Would love to hear from you. Guys, the Israel Guys is a free daily report coming to you. We're combating lies, mainstream media, lies and propaganda. And if you want to support our work, you can go to theisraelguys.com/donate. You can support our work with a tax-deductible donation. We'll put that link down in the description below. Helps us grow and reach even more people. You're going to want to get your tickets to the Israel Summit, June 9th through 11th. Space is starting to fill up. We got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people registered already. Super excited for it. It's coming up very, very soon. We'll put the link down for that in the description below as well. Guys, as always, stop listening to the lies and propaganda and connect with the truth of what's happening here in Israel. We'll be back very soon here at the Israel Guys.